It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful.
Most people think they know everything about the royal family, but the truth hiding behind palace doors is far more shocking than anyone imagines. From strange medical tests that Catherine never expected to rumors of secrets tied back to Princess Diana herself, the latest reports reveal a story that is almost too unbelievable to be real. Are these palace insiders really exposing the truth, or is there an even bigger cover-up waiting to explode? Join us as we dive into the shocking reports from inside the palace that could change how the world sees the royals forever. Reports from inside the palace. Rumors travel faster than lightning through the palace walls, and absolutely nothing stays secret for long in that place. Every sideways glance between family members gets noticed and analyzed. Every worried expression gets decoded by staff who've learned to read the royals like open books. Even when the royal family thinks they're having private conversations with their trusted assistants, there's always someone lurking behind a door or around a corner, listening in and ready to share what they've heard. The reports coming from inside the palace say that Catherine received some kind of medical test results recently, and whatever was in those papers left her looking shaken and deep in thought for days afterward. The test was supposed to be routine, just a precautionary measure the royal doctors recommended for all family members. But holding those results made her think about all the health problems Diana had struggled with privately. William had mentioned over the years how his mother dealt with depression, eating disorders,
whether it be anorexia or bulimia, show how an individual can turn the nourishment of the body into a painful attack on themselves.
and other issues that the palace tried to keep quiet.
One of his most candid interviews ever, Britain's Prince William is talking about the impact of losing his mother. He's hoping to help others by sharing his very personal thoughts.
Now Catherine wondered if some of those struggles might be genetic, something that could affect her own children. Catherine realized she was facing similar pressures that Diana had experienced now. The DNA results were not just about her physical health. They were a reminder of how the royal system fails people when they need support the most. Catherine thought about all the times she had felt overwhelmed by royal duties but had to smile and carry on anyway. Diana had described this exact feeling in interviews after her divorce, talking about how lonely it was to struggle in silence while the world watched her every move.
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did.
The test results made Catherine realize she needed to be smarter about protecting her mental health and her family's privacy. What worried Catherine most was the possibility that her children might inherit some of Diana's vulnerabilities. She knew that depression and anxiety could run in families, and the royal lifestyle added extra stress that most people never had to deal with. But Catherine also knew she had advantages Diana didn't have. William understood the pressure because he'd lived through it with his mother, and the palace had learned some hard lessons about supporting family members who were struggling. Then, something happened that changed everything and brought her worst fears into the spotlight. What could have possibly made the palace doctors act so strangely? The royal DNA mystery. What started as a simple doctor's visit at the palace quickly turned into the biggest shock the royal family had seen since Princess Diana's death. Catherine went in for regular medical tests, something that happens all the time with the royals. But then everything changed when the doctors suddenly said they needed to do a DNA test. The note they gave her was short, but Catherine could tell something serious was happening. When she asked why they needed her DNA and why they needed it immediately, the doctors looked at each other weirdly. The whole room was uncomfortable, and insiders mentioned that the doctors pulled themselves aside and discussed. The insider, who prefers to remain anonymous for security reasons, mentioned that he noticed how the princess became nervous when she asked about some old medical records that belonged to Diana. Documents that everyone thought were gone forever but kept getting mentioned in bits and pieces of stories no one wanted to tell completely. Something much bigger is going on. Something that connected back to the woman who had shaped so much of Catherine's life in the royal family. The way they handled her blood sample told Catherine everything she needed to know about how serious this situation really was. They sealed it up like it was evidence in a criminal case, checking it over and over before taking it away with them. The whole process was meant to be secretive, if not for the presence of her aides and the staff that went with her on these trips. The source mentioned that Catherine watched every move they made, and it was obvious that she knew whatever they learned from that test could shake Buckingham Palace to its core. In fact, she was rumored to have mentioned that for the first time since marrying into the royal family, she felt like Diana's presence was not just a memory or a legacy she had to live up to, but something that was reaching out from beyond the grave. She had always lived in Diana's shadow, knowing that the beloved princess had set the standard for everything she would do as a royal wife and mother. The timing of these strange medical requests seemed too convenient to be random. Could there be a connection between Catherine's growing anxiety and whatever the doctors had discovered? Princess Catherine's weird feeling. Another person who works at the palace mentioned that the princess started acting really strange after her doctor visit. They said she kept staring at old pictures of Diana on her phone, especially the ones where Diana looked worried or tense, and it made her visibly upset too. The worker also noticed Catherine playing Diana's old TV interviews over and over again, like she thought Diana was trying to tell her something from way back then. This same palace worker said Catherine got totally obsessed with the DNA request. She thought it had something to do with Diana's story somehow. She started going through medical papers and files like she was a detective, looking for clues. She believed Diana had left her some clues to decode what had happened to her during her final moments. She started seeing connections everywhere, and the source watched her get more and more suspicious of everyone. Things got even weirder as time went on. The palace workers said they found Catherine walking around the halls at night like a ghost herself. She would stop in front of Diana's paintings and just stare at them forever, like she expected Diana to start talking back to her. Palace employees got really worried when they caught Catherine having actual conversations with Diana's photos. The insider mentioned that they believe Catherine convinced herself that Diana's ghost was helping her discover some huge secret that would shock everyone. And it is not surprising that everyone within the palace was freaking out because Catherine couldn't think about anything except Diana's supposed messages from the afterlife. They were worried that her desperate hunt for Diana's secrets was going to make her have a total breakdown, and that would be a disaster for the whole royal family. Nobody knew what to do about it. The royal family has been sitting on secrets for decades, and Catherine's obsession with Diana could be the key to exposing everything. But what if the DNA result answers questions everyone has been asking about for years? The royal DNA scandal exposed. People have been talking for years about Diana, Charles, and whether Harry is actually Charles's real son. The royal family claims Harry is Charles's child, but the palace workers say this whole DNA thing has never been figured out, for sure. Now there are new stories that are dragging Catherine into this drama. This isn't just normal royal gossip anymore. People who know the royal family say there have been real conversations about doing DNA tests to finally answer all these questions. But doing those tests could cause way more problems than just ignoring everything. People have been talking about Harry's red hair and how his face looks different from William's for a really long time. Some people think James Hewitt, with whom Diana had an affair, might be Harry's dad. Other people think it might be one of the different men Diana was supposedly seeing when her marriage to Charles was falling apart. Catherine's doctor appointments and her weird Diana obsession happening at the same time might not be a coincidence. Palace workers are starting to think Catherine found out something at the doctor that has to do with these old family secrets. James Hewitt, who people have always said might be Harry's dad because of the red hair, says he wasn't even with Diana when Harry was made.
former flame, James Hewitt, speaking out now about a rumor circulating for decades that he is Prince Harry's biological father.
But people keep posting pictures online comparing Harry and Hewitt, saying DNA tests would prove something the royal family doesn't want anyone to know. Having both of these scandals happening together is a total disaster for the royal family. There are questions about whether Harry is really Charles's son, and now people are saying Catherine might actually be related to Diana by blood. Advisors think someone is going to leak the whole story soon, and once the newspapers get it, there will be no way to control what people think. The royal family is already dealing with Diana's memory haunting everything they do. Now, the idea that Catherine might be Diana's blood relative while Harry might not even be Charles's real son is the worst scandal they have ever faced. With Catherine's breakdown getting worse and the DNA questions about Harry refusing to go away, people are starting to talk more openly about what they had witnessed. What would happen when the press finally connected all the pieces? The palace staff can't keep secrets. Although Catherine's DNA results showed no genetic connection to Princess Diana, palace staff began noticing something troubling about her behavior afterward. She had developed what could only be described as an obsession with the late princess, and most people around her had no idea how deep it ran. Workers started connecting the dots when they looked back at Catherine's choices over the years. They remembered how she often wore outfits that looked remarkably similar to Diana's famous looks. She frequently chose the same designers Diana loved and styled her hair in ways that reminded everyone of the people's princess. The jewelry choices became even more obvious once people started paying attention. Catherine regularly wore pieces from Diana's collection, including her sapphire engagement ring and various necklaces and earrings that William had inherited from his mother.
We better have a look at it. What kind of ring is it? Are you an expert on what's...
I'm not an expert on it at all. I've been reliably informed it's a sapphire with some diamonds, but I'm sure everyone recognises it from previous times. So.
Palace staff noticed she seemed to choose these items more frequently after stressful royal events, almost like Diana's jewelry gave her comfort or strength. When word went out that Catherine's medical results had somehow triggered this intense focus on Diana, the palace went into damage control mode. Senior advisors worried that Catherine's growing identification with Diana could become a public relations nightmare. They knew the media would have a field day if they discovered that the future queen was modeling herself so closely after William's deceased mother. King Charles and his team understood that any suggestion that Catherine was trying to become Diana's replacement could backfire spectacularly with the British public, especially since Diana remained more popular than the current royal family. Catherine's behavior patterns suddenly made sense when viewed through this new lens. What had the DNA results actually revealed that could cause such a dramatic change in her relationship with Diana's memory? Catherine's obsession exposed. For years, Catherine had been copying Diana's style choices in ways that now seemed normal but unknown to most people. It was because the princess loved the late Diana and was almost obsessed with her. During her Sweden tour, she wore a red houndstooth coat that looked almost identical to one Diana wore in Canada back in 1991. When she announced her engagement to William, she picked the same royal blue shade Diana had chosen for her own engagement announcement decades earlier. She regularly wore Diana's famous lover's knot tiara to fancy events, the same sparkling piece Diana had worn to embassy dinners. Her choices when presenting her babies to the public were almost the same. When she showed off Prince George, Catherine wore a blue polka dot dress that perfectly matched the blue polka dot outfit Diana wore when she presented baby William in 1982. These were more than accidents or coincidences anymore. Most of Catherine's formal outfits also followed the same pattern. Her black looks for memorial services matched Diana's somber styles from the 90s. Her red and black military event outfits brought back memories of Diana's Christmas appearance at Sandringham in 1993. Palace workers noticed Catherine dressing her daughter Charlotte in outfits that perfectly matched what Diana used to put Prince William and Harry in as children, especially after tough days with royal duties or bad press coverage. The breaking point happened when Catherine took her kids to a public event. She dressed Charlotte in a red coat and white tights that looked exactly like what Prince William wore on his first day of school back in 1985. She also put Prince George in navy shorts and a white shirt that was identical to what Harry wore in an old palace photo from 1988. If the newspapers figured out that Catherine was copying Diana's old outfits for her own children, it would be huge news everywhere. Charles and his advisors knew they had to stop Catherine's obsession before the whole world found out about it. Catherine was not the only royal family member dealing with Diana's overwhelming influence on everything they did. It turns out this pattern of copying Diana had been happening for years with someone else in the family. But could there be something even deeper going on that connected both situations? The Diana mirror effect. When Camilla became queen consort and started showing up more in public during Charles's final years as Prince of Wales, people started noticing some weird similarities to Diana. Everyone expected some comparisons since she was taking over Diana's old role, but nobody realized how much Camilla's clothes and public appearances were actually copying what Diana had done years before. The whole thing was way more deliberate than anyone thought. Camilla was not just accidentally wearing similar outfits or doing the same charity work. She was straight up recreating Diana's exact looks and following the same patterns Diana had created decades earlier. Gossip columns started picking up on these patterns, but most people missed how extensive it really was. Take Camilla's pale blue dress to the Golden Compass movie premiere in 2007. It looked exactly like the flowing gowns Diana used to wear at royal movie premieres back in the 80s. At the 2013 Coronation Festival, Camilla showed up in a cream outfit with a big hat that was basically the same as the white outfits Diana wore to horse races in 1986. In 2015, Camilla wore a deep purple dress with a diamond necklace to a fancy dinner. The whole look was almost identical to Diana's famous purple gown from a state dinner in 1989. Even when Camilla visits Scotland, she wears tartan outfits that look just like the plaid clothes Diana used to wear at Balmoral Castle. It was not just about the clothes either. When Camilla started focusing on osteoporosis awareness, it was basically following the same path Diana took with her health charities, which meant something personal to her. Royal watchers noticed that every time Camilla visited children's hospitals or domestic violence shelters, the newspapers immediately compared her to Diana's famous visits to AIDS patients and landmine areas. Diana's influence was everywhere in Camilla's charity work. She couldn't pick a cause without people saying Diana had done something similar first. When Camilla hugged sick children, people remembered Diana doing the same thing. When she talked about domestic violence, everyone brought up Diana's work with vulnerable women. The problem was that Diana had basically covered every major charity area during her time as a royal. So no matter what Camilla chose to support, it looked like she was copying Diana's playbook. Even when Camilla tried to do her own thing, the press would find some connection to what Diana had done before. This pattern of living in Diana's shadow was not just affecting Camilla anymore. Catherine had also earned comparisons to Diana throughout her royal career, but for completely different reasons. How did two such different women both end up being called by the same title that Diana had made famous? The People's Princesses Connection. Both Diana and Catherine earned the title People's Princess, but in completely different ways that show how much the world changed between their times. Diana became beloved because she broke royal rules and showed real emotions in public. She hugged AIDS patients when most people were afraid to touch them, walked through minefields to bring attention to dangerous weapons, and cried openly at funerals instead of keeping the stiff upper lip that royals were expected to maintain. People loved Diana because she seemed genuine and caring, like someone who actually understood what ordinary people went through in their daily lives. Catherine took a different path to becoming a people's princess, one that was much more careful and controlled than Diana's approach. She had learned from watching what happened to Diana and decided to win hearts through service rather than dramatic emotional moments. Catherine connects with people by showing up consistently to charity events, remembering the names of children she meets, and talking about mental health issues that matter to regular families. She makes people feel comfortable because she doesn't seem to think she's better than them, even though she married into one of the world's most famous families. The biggest difference between the two women is how they handled media attention and public pressure. Diana fought against the royal system and often spoke out about her problems, which made great headlines but also created huge scandals that damaged the monarchy's reputation. Catherine learned to work within the system instead of fighting it, understanding that staying quiet about personal struggles would protect both her family and the royal institution. She gives interviews when necessary but keeps private matters private, which has helped her avoid the kind of media-feeding frenzies that made Diana's life so difficult. What makes both women special as people's princesses is their ability to make ordinary citizens feel seen and valued during royal visits. Diana would sit on hospital beds with sick children and hold hands with elderly people, showing a warmth that felt completely natural and unscripted. Catherine does similar things but in a more organized way, spending time learning about the organizations she visits so she can ask meaningful questions and have real conversations with the people she meets. Both approaches work because they show genuine interest in others, rather than just going through the motions of royal duty for photo opportunities. What would happen when this carefully maintained public image collided with her growing obsession? Why Catherine remains Britain's beloved princess. Catherine was able to build a solid reputation with the British public by staying committed to her royal duties and never causing drama or controversy. People appreciate that she shows up consistently to charity events, school visits, and hospital openings without making everything about herself. She remembers the names of children she meets at events and asks thoughtful questions that show she actually cares about the causes she supports. Her approach feels genuine rather than performative, which makes people trust that she truly wants to help rather than just get good publicity. The public respects Catherine's ability to handle criticism and pressure without complaining or making excuses. When newspapers write negative stories about her family, or when social media users attack her parenting choices, Catherine stays quiet and continues doing her job. She does not give explosive interviews or write tell-all books about how difficult royal life can be. This restraint makes people see her as mature and professional, someone who understands that being royal means putting duty before personal feelings. Catherine's style and personality appeal to traditional British values that many people still hold dear. She dresses appropriately for every occasion, speaks politely to everyone she meets, and never seems to think she's too important to talk to ordinary citizens. Her marriage to William appears stable and happy, which gives people hope that this generation of royals can avoid the scandals and divorces that plagued previous generations. She represents the kind of reliability and consistency that people want from their royal family. Meghan's departure from royal life created a big contrast that made Catherine look even better by comparison. While Meghan spoke openly about feeling unsupported and unwelcome in the royal family, Catherine has thrived in the same environment for over a decade. People saw Meghan's decision to leave as giving up when things got tough, while Catherine's decision to stay shows her commitment to serving the British people no matter what personal challenges she faces. She had everything Diana never had: public approval, family support, and media respect. So why was she becoming so fixated on copying someone whose life had ended in tragedy? Catherine's press problems are not new. Catherine faced intense media scrutiny from the moment she started dating Prince William, just like Diana did when she began her relationship with Charles. The British tabloids nicknamed Catherine Waity Katie because she dated William for years before they got engaged, or they were always questioning whether she was good enough for the future king. Photographers followed her everywhere she went, camping outside her apartment and workplace to get pictures of her daily activities. The media attention became even more aggressive after Catherine married William, with newspapers analyzing every outfit choice, facial expression, and public appearance for hidden meanings. Paparazzi chased her car through London streets, took long-distance photos of her on private vacations, and published unauthorized pictures of her in bikinis and casual clothes. The press created completely false stories about fights with Meghan, problems in her marriage, and supposed eating disorders based on nothing more than speculation and doctored photographs. Catherine learned she could not trust anyone outside her inner circle because staff members and acquaintances would sell stories about her to newspapers for money. These experiences are closely similar to what Diana went through during her time as a royal, when the media treated her like public property rather than a real person with feelings and privacy rights. Diana faced constant criticism about her weight, her parenting skills, her fashion choices, and her relationships with other royal family members. The press followed Diana everywhere she went, making normal activities like shopping or taking her children to school into public spectacles that required security escorts. Both women discovered that marrying into the royal family meant giving up any expectation of living a normal private life. The main difference between their situations is how Catherine learned from Diana's mistakes and found better ways to handle media pressure without letting it destroy her mental health. While Diana often fought back against negative press coverage through interviews and public statements, Catherine chose to stay silent and let her actions speak for themselves. This approach has helped Catherine maintain her sanity and her marriage while still dealing with the same relentless media attention that ultimately contributed to Diana's tragic end. What do you think about the palace doctors suddenly ordering a DNA test for Catherine and treating her results like classified evidence instead of a normal medical file? Do you believe the royal family should keep these shocking medical discoveries hidden to protect their image? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.